Hello, this is Ernest Burley Jr., your cool insurance agent. Back at you again with some more great information on insurance. In addition to being your cool insurance agent, I'm also a certified financial planner, investment advisor representative, and NFLPA registered player financial advisor. Today, we're going to be talking about some aspects of investing instead of just, purely insurance. So I've been in business over 25 years. I have clients all over the country. I've been in the insurance industry over 30 years and clients from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, clients all over the place in various arenas, whether it be life insurance or auto insurance or IRAs or, wealth management, investment accounts, financial planning consultations, long-term care coverage, disability coverage, homeowners, condo, what have you. My firm, Burley Insurance and Financial Services, handles all of those different types of aspects for clients, okay? So the purpose of this podcast is to keep you educated, keep you enlightened, keep you empowered so you can make some, some good decisions for your family with clear, objective, unbiased information. So that's what this is all about, trying to get the good information out there so you can make some good decisions for yourself and for your family, okay? So let's jump right on into today's podcast. Today's podcast is titled Savings versus Investing. Okay, it sounds pretty simple, right? But there's a distinct difference between the two. And some people kind of get that confused and they end up putting their money in the wrong place because they think they're kind of the same. Some people use the term interchangeably and they're not the same. So the term saving and investing, they're often confused and very much put into the same category a lot, but there's a big difference in the two. The biggest sticking points I would say is the time frame. So whether it's short term versus long term, the time frame, and also the risk involved with the money. So I think those are like the two biggest sticking points to determine whether, hey, you should put something in a savings type account or an investment type account. And I'll add a Benny on there. I add another one. Benny is benefit. So another one is the potential growth. So the potential growth is different in a savings vehicle versus an investing vehicle. I said potential growth, okay? So now when a person is talking about savings, their savings account, they're normally talking about money that's in the bank. So a money market account, a savings account, a checking account, a CD, something of that nature that's in the bank. Bank funds are FDIC insured. So FDIC stands for Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So they're backed by the full strength of the federal government. So that money really has no risk to it because it's backed by the federal government. So when people are talking about their savings or their savings accounts, things of that nature, that's what they're normally talking about. Investing is a type of saving, right? But savings or savings accounts are totally different from investment accounts, right? So now, if you have the money in that type of account in the bank, it's not subject to the volatility of the stock market, right? So you don't have any loss potential because it's in the market. It's in the bank, it's FDIC insured. And it's also insured up to, now here, there are limits on the insurance on those, on that cash. So $250,000 per person or $500,000 per joint account, and that's per bank. So if you have a large amount of cash, you can, jump around to different banks to get that protection at various banks to cover $250,000 per individual account, $500,000 per joint account per bank. So that's what the FDIC limit covers. Okay. Now, we talked about savings accounts. Now, on the other hand, when we're talking about investing or investment accounts, those are usually in the stock market some type of way, right? Either mutual funds or stocks or variable products, something of that nature is in the market and it's not guaranteed by the FDIC. Their investment products are not FDIC insured. So that means they are not guaranteed against loss in value, right? Now, money placed in the stock market should be best suited for like long-term goals, not short-term goals. And by short term, I mean anywhere from like 1 to 2 years, in my opinion, is a short term situation. But I mean, that could be up to really 5 years. Anything under 5 years, I think, can be potentially considered short term, depending on the person and depending on that person's situation, right? So 1 to 2 years, that's definitely short term as far as I'm concerned. If you're under that 1 to 2 year mark, anywhere in that vicinity, that's short term. But, it's kind of a buffer when you start talking about, 3 to 5 years or 2 to 5 years, that can be considered short term also. in my opinion, right? Now, if we're talking about growing your money for the long term, I recommend a diversified portfolio of investments in the stock market, right? It's likely to be a better option for you for long-term growth if you're looking for long-term growth on your money. But that depends on the person too. Everyone is different. So I would recommend don't be fickle, right? If you're going to have a long-term strategy, what you should do is implement a strategy to say, okay, based on the purpose of this money, based on my risk tolerance, and based on the time horizon. So my risk tolerance means my attitude towards potential loss of my money. What's my risk tolerance? What's my tolerance towards the risking loss of my money? And also time horizon. So how long before you plan on using that money? So put all of that into the pot and say, okay, well, is this something I really want to do, an investment type of account or a savings account that's kind of safe and FDIC insured, right? So now once you do that, you stick with that strategy. Don't be fickle and don't be trying to jump in and out of the market and try to time the market, because you can't time the market. If we could time the market, everyone would just be rich, right? Because we know when to get out and we know when to jump back in, right? So you stick with the strategy, take the bumps and bruises along the way and keep with your strategy. Now you want to tweak your portfolio from time to time, based on what's going on, but just tweak it. You don't overhaul it and try to time the market and jump in and out and jump. I know it sounds, reasonable to jump out when the market's going down in value, but it's a losing strategy to do that every time, to try to time the market. And then you miss out on some of those days when the market goes up substantially too. So just stick with your strategy, maintain your composure, know it's a long-term strategy. Now, the closer you get to needing to use that money, then you want to be more conservative with your investment account at that point, right? All right, so now if the money is planned for a short-term endeavor, so like the down payment for a home, down payment for a car, or to purchase a car, say for a home project, you want to finish your basement next year, something of that nature, for your emergency savings. If the money is for short-term situations, short-term endeavors, do not put that money in the stock market, right? That money should go into an FDIC insured institution, a bank, because you want that money to be there and be stable, not have any loss to it, no matter what's going on in the market. Now, sure, if you put the money in the market, maybe you do make a large amount in a short period of time, but then maybe you do take a big hit in a short period of time too, and then you need the money, you're down 20, 30% or whatever. So if you need the money in a short time frame, do not put it in the market. Let's not risk it like that. Okay. Because I've had people call, they want to flip cash, so to speak. Instead of flipping houses, they want to flip cash and toss it in the market for 6 to 12 months and make all this money supposedly, right? And then get out. That's not the way it works. Maybe you do have a good situation there, but maybe you don't, right? So don't risk it. If you need the money in a short period of time, put the money in a bank account. Okay. Now, if you are going to put money into a long-term type situation where you want to invest, I do recommend putting it into a tax qualified plan. So you have tax qualified plans and non-tax qualified plans. So let's jump into this really quick. So tax qualified plans are basically plans that give you tax benefits. That's why they're called tax qualified, because either the money grows tax deferred in those plans or tax free in those plans, depending on what type of plan it is. And they're mainly geared towards, they benefit longer type plans. So like say for your retirement, for saving for your child's education, for growing your assets over a long period of time and trying to defer taxes or not pay taxes on the money, depending on the growth, depending on what type of product you're in. Okay. Now, even if you're dabbling around in the market, I've had people say, hey, I'm dabbling around, I have a little, trade account over here. If you're doing that, I still recommend putting that into a tax qualified plan. Some people have these little brokerage accounts or retail accounts where they're trading some stocks or whatever on their own. Okay, that's fine. Do it in a tax qualified plan. So that should be in an IRA, so you don't get a 1099. So say if you do make a good amount of money, say last year you made $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 or whatever in this account, if it was not in a tax qualified plan, then you have a 1099. You have to claim it on your taxes and claim it on your income taxes and pay taxes on it, right? So let's not do that if you don't have to. So let's make that a tax qualified plan that we put our money into, even if it's money that you're playing around with. Okay, so some tax qualified plans are like 403Bs, 401Ks, IRAs, 529 plans, TSPs. Those are like tax qualified plans. Now, a lot of those plans I mentioned are tied to employment, 403B, 401k, TSP, but you can set up your own IRA. IRA stands for individual retirement account, right? So you can set up your own IRA, play around in that, dabble in that if you want to, but you want the proceeds, like the gains, to like stay in there and just roll over and continue to roll over, and ideally defer the taxes on them or pay no taxes on them. If it's a Roth IRA, it's tax-free gains as long as you hold it 5 years and until age 59 and a half. Okay, so let's be strategic about that. Okay, very good. All right, so non-tax qualified plans. Now, those don't have any tax benefits. So if you make money in those plans, then you're going to pay taxes on it. You're going to get a 1099 and you're going to have to add it to the income that you earned that previous year and pay taxes on the money. So that's the disadvantage of non-tax qualified plans. Now, people either have non-tax qualified plans for like short-term money. So like a savings account or a money market account or CD, that's short-term. What I say you should have only short-term money in. So if you make some money, if you make $100 or $1,000 in one of those type of vehicles, you're going to get a 1099 and have to claim that as income and pay taxes on it, right? Now also people use non-tax qualified plans after they've maxed tax qualified plans, because there are limits on tax qualified plans, right? So on a 401k plan, the current limit is 20,500. If you're 50 or older, that's an additional 6,500. You can catch up and do 27,000 in that plan. With IRAs, the limit is 6,000, but if you're 50 or older, you can do 7,000. So those are the current limits on those plans. So once you max those tax qualified plans, then of course you have to put money into non-tax qualified plans if you have more than that to put away for your long-term growth. But hey, if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But please max your tax qualified plans first. Okay. And that's it. That's it for today's podcast. I just want to make a clear distinction between savings accounts and investment accounts. They're totally different, like very, very different. Okay. So let me do a quick recap. So there's a big difference between savings accounts and investment accounts. That's our recap. Now, our main takeaways are you want to make sure you answer these 3 questions to figure out, okay, which one should I potentially be in that will fit my interest best based on my situation, right? So the purpose of the money, right? The purpose of the money makes a big difference. The risk tolerance, the risk you're willing to take on that money, and your time horizon, how long before you plan on using that money. So those are like the big takeaways to determine, okay, should this money be in a savings account or in an investment type account? Should it be in a short-term type vehicle or a long-term type vehicle for growth? So answer those 3 questions, speak with someone who can give you clear, objective advice on what to do on that, and then pull the trigger and go with it, okay? And then follow those other things that I talked about. Don't be fickle, don't jump in and out of the market, all that other kind of good stuff, okay? I want to thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. I ask that you share the podcast with others and ask them to do the same and so on, so we can spread this information, very, clear, unbiased information. If you want to connect with me, just email me. My email address is ernest@ernestburleyjr.com. So that's ERNEST at ERNESTBURLEYJR.com. It's just my first name at my full name.com. Again, my first name at my full name.com. Or you can call my firm at 301-262-2600. Again, that's 301-262-2600. Now, since this podcast we kind of talked about investing and money and certified, I'm a certified financial planner, all that kind of stuff. I do have to read off some disclosure information for you. Okay, so here we go. The location of my firm, Burley Insurance and Financial Services, Inc., is the name of my firm. The address is 13621 Annapolis Road in Bowie, Maryland. The zip code is 20720. So that's where I'm located, but I have clients all over the country in various capacities, like I mentioned before. Now, here's some more disclosure information. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Next Financial Group, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Burley Insurance and Financial Services, Inc. is not an affiliate of Next Financial Group, Inc. This material is not intended as an offer or solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security or other financial instrument. Past performance does not guarantee future performance. All the views expressed are those of Ernest Burley Jr., moi, and Burley Insurance and Financial Services, Inc., and not those of Next Financial Group, Inc. Next Financial Group Inc. does not provide tax advice. Okay, so that's our disclosure information for this particular podcast, since we are talking about investing and things of that nature. Okay, now that is it for today's podcast. Okay, thank y'all again for listening in, and hopefully we'll see you again. Okay, so y'all take care and be safe out there.